Hello and welcome everybody this evening to our virtual Parents' Evening, a beautiful evening outside, so thank you so much for joining us. This event, of course, is called Your Child, Their Future, and it's organised in conjunction with three fantastic companies, EY, Allstate and Herbert Smith Freehills. This is actually the first of a planned series of events. Initially, we thought we'd be going on a bit of a roadshow around schools and colleges around the country, but for obvious reasons, we can't do that. But through the wonders of technology, we can bring this event right to your doorstep, in fact, right into your living room or kitchen, wherever you are tonight. I'll be your host this evening. My name is Sarah Travers. I'm a former BBC journalist and I'm currently working as a media trainer here in Northern Ireland. But I'm also the mum of a 23-year-old and a 17-year-old. So I'm very interested, like all of you parents tuning in this evening, to find out more about what the world of work will look like, and to make sure that my children, that your children, have the best chance, equipping them with the best skills that they can have to get the best jobs out there going forward. Because obviously the traditional routes that perhaps we took through uni, through college, etc., might not necessarily be the best way forward now. We're using this fantastic live streaming technology this evening, so it's great to have you all with us. It is challenging even the best of us, so please forgive any blips or bumps along the way. I'm sure we're all getting very, very used to the old Zoom meetings and learning platforms and streaming platforms. So I hope it will be as seamless as possible. I know that we do have 266 people registered, which shows the real interest in our subject matter this evening. Obviously, the times that we're in at the minute, they are very different. They were very different anyway, but even after the pandemic, these are uncertain times, but also times of great opportunity for our young people. And we do have, of course, A-level results coming out on Thursday and AS results coming out too. My daughter's waiting for those, and then GCSEs next week. So it's a great time to learn from our panelists this evening, who I'm delighted have joined us. You can see them on the screens there. We'll be hearing from three panelists tonight from our fantastic companies. First of all, Lynn Harris. Give us a wave there, Lynn. Lynn is the Director for Global Disputes for the Europe, Middle East and Africa and New York. For the global legal giant Herbert Smith Freehills. We also have Andrew Dolliver. Hello, Andrew. Andrew is the UK and Ireland Strategy and Transactions Partner with EY, of course, one of the largest professional services networks in the world, originally from Tasmania, but now living in Belfast. And last but not least, there's Susie, who's not in the garden. Apparently, it's her beautiful brick wall, but she looks like she's basking in the Northern Ireland sunshine tonight. Susie Murta is the Claims Technology Services Director with the American insurance giant Allstate. You're extremely welcome. Now, all of our panelists too are parents as well. So this is not a big pitch on behalf of these companies to take your loved ones from you, your children from you, although please do consider a career with these fantastic companies. It's about what the world of work really looks like, and they too have their concerns for their own children. So let's talk to our panelists. Lynn, if we could start with you, can you tell us a little bit about what it is you do? What are alternative legal services anyway? When you became a lawyer years ago, did these things even exist? Tell us a little bit about who you are and your family.
Yeah, sure. Sarah, so I work at Herbert Smith Freehills, or HSF for short, and I work in the alternative legal services business of Herbert Smith Freehills, based in Belfast. And I look after a global team, and we have 350 lawyers and technologists working across the world for alternative legal services. Essentially, what we do is we deliver legal services in a way that adds value for clients by using technology, process, and highly skilled people working across the law and working across technology. My role essentially is leading the disputes practice group, so that's contentious legal work around the world in the alt business, and I also have regional responsibility for our EMEA and our US arms of our business. When I started my career in law, no, these types of roles did not exist. The alternative legal services provider market is also characterized as new law, kind of on the rise in the last 5 years or so. So, you know, a fantastic opportunity for us to change our career direction slightly as lawyers, focus more on the tech side.
Well, yes, thank you. And you've got a little one as well that's on the cusp of a big change in their lives.
I do indeed. I've got a little, yeah, he's called Leo and he's 11 years old and he's heading fast toward the transfer tests, the AQE and the GL in November, December. So we've got a hefty summer pack of revision home with us from his school that we're working through and trying to fit in a bit of fun along the way as well.
Well, that's good to hear, the joys of the transfer. But yes, we'll be talking to you a little bit more about how you got to where you've got to in your career in a moment. But if I could bring Andrew in, tell us a little bit about what you do, Andrew, and your family situation.
Sure. Hi, Sarah. Hi, everyone. So I'm a partner in our strategy and transactions area in EY. EY, we've got a big practice in Belfast, and we actually do a lot of work for some of the leading global companies across the world. So, you know, from Belfast, we do audits for some of the larger London clients as well. We have a really nice tax practice as well, and the area that I'm in, we focus on transaction services and corporate finance, so selling businesses, buying businesses, and also my own team, which deals with businesses that are in some form of distress, so turnaround and restructuring. So I think, you know, particularly with COVID, it's becoming very relevant. In terms of the family, I have 2 boys. So I have an 11-year-old, and again, he's doing the GL AQE. And as an Australian, it's very strange for me to have a child going through that sort of a test at that sort of age. I can't remember doing anything as serious until I was at least 16 or so. So he's going through that, and then the other one is 8. That's Jack. Jack, since he's been the age of 4, has said that he wants to work in a cafe. So I'm delighted that at some point in the future he's going to be both making my food and washing dishes for me, hopefully.
Yeah, let's good luck with that one. Thank you so much, Andrew. And Susie, last but not least. So what do you do? And tell us a little bit about yourself and your family.
Sure, Sarah. I'm a director at Allstate, and Allstate is the largest technology company in Northern Ireland, and we employ about 2,300 across our 3 sites in Belfast, Strabane and Derry. Allstate itself is one of the largest insurance companies in the US for home and auto insurance. And we provide technical solutions. So we are a tech house, and we're delivering some of those solutions both for our internal staff to process things like claims, but also for those people who have policies who are, for example, you know, have an accident in their car and we're processing those claims. Our claimants want to kind of do that digitally themselves. So at Allstate Northern Ireland, we're helping create some of those solutions. Just to give a scale of the size of the company, there are around 16 million households in the US who have some sort of insurance policy with Allstate. So it's quite big, right? In regards to my home life, I've got 2 daughters.
Well, we heard from Libby there about how the legal industry is changing, and I'm sure that a lot of the points that she raised resonated with all of you tonight in whatever industries or whatever sectors that you work in, especially how technology is changing how we work, the digitization of almost everything. Not sure yet about the cafes, but definitely we're seeing technology impacting. If I think of my own career as a journalist, I've worked in broadcasting all my life. Technology was always a massive part of that, but it used to be as a young journalist at university, you kind of either went down the technical route or you wrote the stories and did the interviews. Now you have to be able to do everything, and let me just say, some are better at that than others. So it used to be horses for courses, but now technology is needed. Those skills are needed in almost every profession. So let's go back to our panelists now. And Susie, perhaps we'll start with you. You're a great example of someone who didn't have a technology background, isn't that right? But you've embraced it and run with it, but also tell us a little bit about how technology has impacted on the kind of work that you do within Allstate.
Yeah, well, being in the technology industry, and you know, I converted over to technology probably after my degree, actually, and maybe talk about that in a bit. But being part of the technology industry, we're definitely seeing a surge in the need for technology solutions. And actually, as consumers, you know, we sell insurance. We're in the Allstate, we're in the insurance business, but actually, our technology offerings and our digital channels represent our brand, you know, and customers are choosing one brand over the other because of their perhaps, or maybe one of those choices are because of their digital offerings. And we can't, you know, we can't sort of provide technology maybe like we did in the past for, you know, the back end solutions that maybe were a little bit clunky. We now have to get front and put the customer at the center to be able to provide digital solutions and products that solve problems, but actually really tantalize the user, and it's given a great user experience. So we're seeing more and more from a technology perspective that sense of urgency and that acceleration around delivery to be creative and smart and be able to deliver products quickly to the marketplace that our customers need. If I look at the future world of work then, and the workforce that we need to be able to deliver, you know, everything that we're seeing around us digitally, I see diverse teams, and a big thing for us in the technology sector is actually a lot of people from different skills and backgrounds and experience as well. So we're looking for junior people and more experienced people to come together in that diverse team, and they collaborate and they solve problems as a collective. And that's really kind of a magical thing that happens in regards to, you know, innovation and creating new ideas. So when I look to the future, I see, yes, you know, skill sets, engineers, you know, data engineers, cloud engineers, artificial intelligence, I see all of that. But I also see those people coming together as a collective group and working together as strong teams and diverse teams to be able to deliver the products that our customers need, and to also be customer centric. Sometimes in technology, we think of the solution, and we need to always keep our customers in mind. So the young generation 100% are key to that. I look at my daughters and I see, you know, the Gen Z generation where they've grown up with, you know, immersed in digital technology. And I always remember my youngest daughter, you know, going to the TV and trying to swipe for Netflix, you know, and pretty disgusted that the TV wasn't interactive. And that's the expectation that young people, and actually not just young people, us as consumers, are starting to expect. And it's that level of expectation that's accelerating our digital experiences, and technologists, we need to keep up with that demand. And
the digital natives have those skills already almost, and I know that they're trying to make the picture bigger and the photo frames and things like that. So Andrew, let's bring you in now. What about in EY? What impact has technology had on your role and the services you provide? If you could just unmute for me there, Andrew, thank you.
I knew I'd be the first one. I'm showing my inability with technology. I suppose, first of all, I think COVID and the lockdown has really shown how much we already use technology in the way that we operate in the business. So, you know, the fact that we actually nearly didn't really miss a beat in terms of continuing to operate, and we work with teams, as I'm sure you know, the rest of the panelists do, across countries and across offices. And you know, really there wasn't really a step change there, but I do think what it did was just brought home how powerful it is and how able we are all to work from different locations. And I think, you know, the flexibility that we've always tried to have at EY in terms of people's work-life balance is only going to, you know, improve and be embedded by the fact that we know we can now do it. Because in terms of what's changed most recently, there's certainly been this accelerating shift towards the use of AI and robotic programming automation and big data to do the sort of things that we do to provide the insights to our clients. And I just see that now really becoming a thing where people are working with these tools to try and do their work better. A little bit like Susie, I think what I've noticed, and probably not being able to unmute my my microphone was an example of that. The young people coming into our organisation pick up this technology a lot, you know, just a lot faster. And what we've found is that we can get people, you know, trained up on stuff very early and become the champions, and it's really given them an opportunity to shine at quite a junior level. And as Susie says, I think, you know, having a mix within teams of the grey hairs and the youngsters has been really, really great and really powerful, and that's where the magic happens. Right. Okay, Lynn, would you echo those sentiments?
Yes, absolutely. The legal industry is no different, and I echo what Susie and Andrew have already said. And look, as Libby has just said, the role of the lawyer is profoundly changing. It's changed so much since I entered the profession many years ago, and really lawyers and the legal sector are going to need to embrace digital transformation in order to thrive. And you know, what does that mean for the lawyer? Well, I see lawyers' roles being still as important as they are today. The rise of artificial intelligence and automation, etc., are not going to kind of do away with lawyers at all. I think that there will be some impact in relation to potentially a leaner workforce, reduction in man hours, but there will still be a need for that subject matter expertise. But I do think that lawyers are going to need to stretch into technology, and actually those coming into the market today with those more diverse skills have broader opportunities. And the same actually for the legal tech specialism within our business. We have technologists who were lawyers and have changed career path somewhere down the line, and to have that mix of skills is incredibly valuable and can bring a huge amount of value to an organisation like ours.
It's so interesting. And I mean, yes, if this pandemic had happened maybe 10 years ago, a lot of businesses wouldn't have been able to survive. But you know, the only constant these days is being able to change and adapt to change and want to change. I suppose that's the key. Everyone mentioned how employees of the future will need a different skill set than, say, we needed when we were starting out in our careers. But before I ask you what you think those vital skills that future employees will need, let's watch this short video. Okay, great. Well, we want to hear again from you. So any parents out there with some questions, do send them in and we'll hopefully be able to get to those shortly. Well, let's just have a quick whiz round our panelists again and talk about those skills of the future. We've talked a lot about technology, but perhaps, how important are the soft skills as well? Lynn, let's start with you this time.
Sure, incredibly important, and as important as skills in technology. For lawyers, there is a need for lawyers to have a much more rounded skill set. And even today, lawyers don't just practice law and offer subject matter expertise. Business leadership, business management, people management have all been hugely influential in terms of the direction of my career, and that will be even more so, I think, for the lawyer for the future, given they're going to need to be managing their own business units profitably, and also understanding their clients' businesses, what those businesses are going to look like in the future, and the markets in which they're operating as well. And I think in addition to those skills, softer skills such as that are necessary for leading teams, as we try to drive value through how we're delivering our services, we're going to be working in teams much more. So communication, listening, and empathy will be crucial as well, I think.
Yes, Susie, do you agree? Communication skills, we can't let those go. They used to say years ago that the newsreaders, that was me, would be replaced by robots, and thankfully they weren't. So do we still need that connection with a real person?
100%, and more so now than ever, technology that we're building out can't just be, we need to put the customer at the front of that. So we need our young people who are coming into the technology industry to have their discipline, but actually we test and we look for those softer skills as well. Working within a team, I think we've covered a lot in communication. It's also that ideation and creation and innovation as well that happens within that team, which is good because I think, we're looking for, it's something that young people can come in and add to straight away, right? That ideation of an idea and that customer centricity of understanding who is going to be using our products. And that's what we're looking at as well. And actually test, coming in through the front door, not just that discipline, but also how people will function in those scenarios. Are they a good communicator? In fact, actually, even our paired programmers, some of our engineers will work as pairs, and they will work side by side or remote now, and they will often write code as a pair. So one will drive and the other one will navigate, and they constantly have to communicate. So instead of just asking for technical skills, we're asking and testing for that communication, but also that ideation and innovation that certainly when somebody comes in through the door, they can add that. If they have those skills, they can certainly add that from day dot as they fine tune and grow their experience and their discipline.
Ideation, creation. Do we need to rewrite the syllabuses in schools? Perhaps, I don't remember any A levels in such things, but perhaps there are elements of lots of different subjects. Andrew, what about you? What are the skills that we're going to need in the future in your view?
Yeah, I think I'd echo what Lynn and Susie say there. I mean, we certainly in the recruitment process, we focus a lot on the softer skills, and from day one, people are very rarely working in isolation. It is in teams to come up with solutions, and so the ability to use emotional intelligence and collaborate and work within teams, and listening skills and all of those things are going to continue to be important. And I guess if you sort of think about some of the hard skills people might have had 30 or 40 years ago, technology has come in and probably taken over some of those and made them less important, and that will probably continue to happen. But the soft skills can't be replaced readily, and I think they're just going to continue to go up in value.
Okay, well, let's go to our audience. I hope you're enjoying yourselves this evening. It's been very interesting so far. That's feedback that we've got from one participant. Janice has asked, what A levels should I be guiding my 15-year-old daughter to? Now, there's a question. Is it what she should be doing or what she loves to do, or a combination of both? Anybody like to pick up on that one? Raise your hand. What A levels should Janice be telling her 15-year-old or guiding her 15-year-old towards?
I can I I certainly want to give awareness, around the technology industry, and the route in is actually changing from a graduate position, from a straight graduate degree right through into an IT degree, or IT career, sorry. And we are managing that sort of pathway and being creative around that as well. To do the IT sort of straight path, you are looking at, A levels that would be maths, chemistry, physics, or computing, which is, your kind of software systems. But I would always caveat on, what people are good at, right? What students are good at, and if that is your thing, if that pathway is, I would recommend doing maths, chemistry, physics, or that kind of computing route with your A levels.
My goodness, that would be me out definitely. But let's bring in Andrew there. It used to be that do you choose subjects based on the career that you think you might want, or is that the wrong thing to do now? Should you be a little more focused and try and get that?
I probably don't have a solid answer on this, because on the one hand, I think people should be following what they're passionate about, but there are certainly degree choices where people should be cognizant that if they're looking at a particular career in the future, or if they're looking at financial security or whatever, then there are certain degrees that will be more likely to be easy for them to do that in the future. Now, having said that, my wife is a chartered accountant and she did sports science at university. So, there's certainly...
You never know where you're going to end up with.
There's opportunities to swap over, yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, another audience question there. The word technology has been mentioned frequently in terms of school subjects. Does this mean technology or more computers, i.e. digital technology? If anybody would like to come in. Lynn, would you have anything to say on that one, or if anybody else felt they?
Yeah, sure. Oh, can't hear you, Sarah.
Sorry, I was going to say, is it computers we're talking about here, or digital technology? Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure.
Anybody like to come in? Are you happy to take that one, Lynn?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think what age are we talking about? Do we talk?
That I can't tell you. That I can't tell you at this stage. So I think it's just, again, a parent maybe. I mean, my daughter would have been similar. She was very good at art, but wanted to do animation. And she didn't know whether to do the sort of the straight IT or the digital technology. But she did the digital technology route, I think. But again, you just want to get the right choice. And if we don't understand what's the right choice, do you do both, for example?
I think the best place to look for advice is probably at school, in terms of, and it also depends on what the career direction is intended to be, because there are so many different careers in the tech sector, as you've heard this evening from all of us. It depends really on where you're pointed, I think.
Absolutely. Well, here's another one here, a question from Sinead, and a very good one. How do we encourage our teenage daughters to have the same confidence as boys to follow careers in IT, engineering, etc.? So that women in tech thing. That's a great question, Sinead. Susie, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, so I have spent 20 years in the technology industry, and we can do it, right? I think there has to be more people like myself and other people just to know that it can and it should be done, and don't feel inferior of making those choices. Actually, when we go back to the teams, that level of diversity that we need within our teams, both from our skills and our age, is also around our gender as well. So we actually need females in the technology industry to provide that level of diversity. And it's not a numbers thing, it's actually around being able to deliver really great software with people with different backgrounds and different skill sets. And I can tell you that it is, I have had the most rewarding career in technology, and I've absolutely loved it. And same as my peers who are female as well. So I would encourage anybody, who is female on the call, or you have children, to really explore it and challenge. challenge the norm, I suppose, and we are challenging the norm. We're seeing the numbers increasing, we're seeing more females taking up some STEM subjects, and we're seeing more careers for technologists. That's such wide spectrum of opportunity in the technology industry. We're seeing more females coming in.
And
so
it's a much more welcoming place, the world of work, in those careers, whereas it perhaps wasn't in the past. You could imagine it was daunting if you were the only girl in the class. Lynn, you know, becoming a lawyer, that was definitely an option for women for many years, but is there the opportunity to maybe, you know, study your law and then retrain in the technology when you get into an organization like yourself?
Absolutely. Look, our head of technology for UK, US, and EMEA, our head of legal technology is Steph, a wonderful lady who is excelling in her field, and her deputy is also a wonderful lady, Chantal. And look, many of our legal technologists were lawyers and have moved across, and we're still seeing that in our junior team members as well. So we have lawyers who decide, or legal analysts who decide, I'd actually quite like to try that. And it's actually giving people the confidence and a safe to feel environment in which to learn and to have a go, and the support. So we have had those kind of career changes happen, and we're enabling that and supporting that. So yes, I think the key is for young people not to panic about making a decision and then maybe wanting to change down the line, because I think employers are much more open to enabling that kind of career change.
Okay, well, there are lots of questions coming in, so keep them coming. Thank you. We'll come back to Andrew for the next set of questions there, because I know we've only got a very short window tonight, and we do also have some great videos that we want to share with you too. Obviously, we know that the A-level results are due out on Thursday, and then the implications on progression to further education that happens. And, you know, it's a very uncertain world, the future of third level education now, especially since the pandemic. But one thing we wanted to address tonight was, while that traditional pathway into employment is absolutely still valid, you do have more options now. And we wanted to share the story of Shannon from EY and how she was able to find her path. Well, thank you so much to Shannon for sharing that with us. As Shannon said, you know, it used to be that the done thing was to go to university, not worry if you hadn't figured out exactly what you wanted to do. You just had to get to uni once you'd finished school. And I'm sure most of us took the university route. But things have changed. There are more options now. So let's go round the various organisations and find out what alternative pathways you can take to get into these organisations. Andrew, can I start with you, please?
Yeah, sure. So I suppose there's a range of different options. I mean, one, and Shannon's an example, is coming straight out of school, you're able to do an apprenticeship where you're working and earning at the same time as getting a professional qualification. And in 4.5 years, we have people who will be coming through and becoming chartered accountants. And you know, that is, I suppose, for someone like myself who did a 5-year degree because I was trying to avoid work for as long as possible, you know, it's staggering that you can get someone come out and have that qualification. And I suppose the other point to make is within an organisation and within the industry, once you have that sort of professional qualification, you know, nobody looks back at university and you know what happened there. It is, you know, that you're a peer with other people who have come through and done their chartered accounting at that point. And you know, our head of strategy and transactions for the whole of UK took that route. So there's absolutely no ceiling and stigma, for want of a better word, attached to not going through the university path. But there are a range of different options.
How hard is it to get that apprenticeship?
Well, what we're finding is that, so there's a number of them offered every year in Belfast. And what we're finding is that the mix that we take in has moved more towards the apprenticeship rather than the graduate. Now we're taking more people in than we used to, but the mix, the percentage is growing more towards the apprenticeships.
Great. Okay. And Lynn, what about HSF? What are the pathways into the organisation? Do you have an apprenticeship scheme? Anything like that?
Well, the legal industry is fairly traditional in that regard. So we do absolutely have a trainee scheme to move toward qualification. But actually, there is an awareness, I think, within the legal sector that there needs to be a more accessible route for qualification. And actually, there are some changes in England and Wales coming through, and with the Solicitors Regulation Authority actually making that route a little bit easier and reducing the cost by introducing a single exam, Solicitors Qualifying Examination, and to replace 2 previous programmes. The idea being that it will lower the cost of study. So under that new system, for example, aspiring solicitors can hold any degree, essentially, not necessarily a law degree, and complete 2 years of qualifying legal work experience. So that's, you know, that's something that is happening at the moment. But just looking at our Belfast office, we have a legal analyst role, where young people who have a law degree can come in and work without being qualified as a lawyer. And actually, it's a fantastic route to get to know a little bit about what a lawyer does, do legal work. There is progression to senior legal analyst, and actually it's quite a fulfilling route and gives the team members that kind of job experience and the experience to take through to qualification. And we don't have to look too far within our own firm to see how that can lead to success with our CEO of HSF actually beginning his career as a legal analyst, paralegal at HSF.
Well, there's a great role model right there, absolutely. What about Allstate then, Susie? What pathways have we got at Allstate?
Yeah, Sarah. So traditionally, you know, we have a very strong relationship with our with Queen's and University of Ulster, and we have a very strong channel of recruitment from our grads, actually. And just this week, we have taken in, I think, around 24 graduates from the 2 universities. We'll be taking in 17 placements as well. So that's a well-established route that we have within Allstate, and that is really a fantastic route for us and a great relationship. And the graduates that we see come in are really excellent, ready to hit the ground running. And as we say, that balanced team, seeding them in with those kind of more experienced people, that's really a lot of magic happens there, you know, in regards to delivery. So that's a really like well-oiled machine, and we're that works for us, right? But what we are seeing is that we would like to experiment a little bit more with our apprenticeship level. And last year we did
Oh, Susie seems to have frozen right there, so I will intervene.
put out a pilot level or apprenticeship where you basically... Can you hear me okay?
We can, but you just broke up ever so slightly there. You were in mid-sentence, but yes, very quickly, Susie, just say, yeah, try again. I think we lost you mid-sentence.
Okay, just the apprenticeships then. So I think, you know, the world of work moving forward, we're definitely going to move forward with those apprenticeships. And actually 20 years ago, when I pivoted from my degree, I did an apprenticeship-like role. It was called Rapid Advancement Programme at that time, highly successful. And I can see more routes like that into the technology sector.
Brilliant, Susie. Thanks for coming back there. And that's the thing too, you know, you really do need sometimes experience. If you're not sure, you think you might want to be a lawyer, you think you might want to be an accountant, you think you might be interested in this, but you know, getting a real feel, and that might be harder currently with not being able to go into workplaces. But we'll park that thought for a minute and hear now from some other All-State staff on their pathway and how they found that the core skills that they needed were not what you might expect. Well, I think that links, yes, I think that links a lot of what we've been talking about together nicely in terms of the diverse pathways into All-State and the need not just for the technical skills, but also the softer skills and the communication skills that are essential to drive force the workforce of the future and help it thrive. For example, we know now that home working is going to become increasingly the norm, and we find that tools like the one we're on tonight, the platforms and Zoom, are becoming commonplace to connect with teams. But before we take some more of our audience questions, I'd like to also ask the panel now what advice they're giving their own children on preparing for their futures and what advice they would give to those other parents listening now. Lynn, let's go to you first this time.
Sure. I mean, at the moment, with regard to my own son being 11 years old and facing his transfer tests, I'm encouraging him to take one step at a time and to stay open and interested in lots of different subjects, read a lot. He's already done some coding classes. And look, I just think that for the workforce of the future and for our children, no matter what age they are, it's really important that they build their confidence. And I think to do that, it's important that they really embrace what they are good at and what they enjoy. And I suppose it comes back a little bit to the A-level question earlier, which is that, you know, it's all very well doing, you know, maybe physics to be a doctor, but actually if you don't really like physics and you're not very good at it, it's not going to give you an awful lot of confidence. So I think that's important. I also think it's really important to get a diverse set of skills as far as possible. So, you know, resilience through sports, and volunteering, and really just encourage our young people to open their minds, and be willing to take risks, I think, a little bit with their career, and be open-minded and willing to change.
Fantastic advice. Andrew, what about you? What advice are you giving to your own kids and perhaps to the parents listening now to give to their children?
Yeah, I think a lot of overlap with Lynn. I mean, I always encourage them to try and do something that scares them every now and again. So, you know, for me as a kid, that was always public speaking. And, you know, something like that, I think if you can take it at an early age, but more to the point, kind of challenge yourself and get over it, that does build that confidence and resilience. Working together in teams, because as we've talked about, it's such an important thing. So again, like team sports are fantastic for, again, building resilience and confidence and getting feedback and you know, coping with disappointment and all the sorts of things that you experience in life. So, you know, working together in teams. And I guess the last one, and again, back to my 11-year-old who's studying at the moment, is to not just do the bare minimum. And you know, try and do one extra question than you actually have to, and all the rest of it. And I've got to say, I probably didn't practice what I preach when I was at school, but it's an ongoing battle.
Well, I had a son and a daughter, and I know my son would have found the quickest way between A and B, but you know, he did okay.
Yeah.
My daughter is so diligent. She does so much. I don't know if anybody else can relate to that. I love that. Try something that scares you. I'm definitely going to use that with my daughter as well, because she would struggle with the confidence thing. Susie, what about you?
I think you guys have kind of nailed it as well. I agree with everything that you're saying. You know, I think that we all individually have super strengths, right? And even within our workplace, we're always bringing something, you know, that we're good at, and rely, you know, on the team effort to bring everything together. It's the same as our children. You know, I'm not, you know, just letting them enjoy their subjects, and seeing what they're good at and actually what they really like. I do let them explore that level of curiosity. I think kids are great with that level of curiosity, even though it might sort of represent itself in 100 ways. That might be quite annoying. But that level of curiosity is definitely something to grow. And I think the sense of team, and just being comfortable, you know, in their own skin, and knowing what they're good at, and knowing that hard work as well, you know, that you can achieve a lot through hard work is really sort of the things that I'm just sort of telling my girls, and to have fun, you know, to enjoy. We work so much, and now our work life and our life and our work are kind of mingled into one, right? And we're trying to separate it now. And whatever we do, we really have to enjoy it and have fun, because that's when people thrive, I believe, you know, in their career. And yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Susie. Great advice again. I mean, you've got to do what you love. There is no point in doing something because you will be spending an awfully long time at work, and if you don't love it, then what's the point? You've got to have a life too. Right, we have a few more questions coming in. This is a good one. So we've changed times. We're working from home, but in terms of the recruitment process now in the future, you know, will we be moving away from a traditional interview? That's what somebody wants to know tonight. You know, how will employers test young people? What are they, especially around the soft skills? Can you give any advice on how we could prepare? What will the interview of the future look like? Lynn?
Sure. So we're actually interviewing right now at HSF for our Belfast team, and we're managing it very well via remote technology. Nothing really can substitute face-to-face, right? But I actually believe that it's important for employers and prospective employees to be able to have a conversation. Because in that way we can test the soft skills, and we can test the communication capability. I think it's also important for prospective employees, so our workforce of the future, to interview back as well, because I think more and more young people need to make sure that actually it's the right fit for them, and I think potentially doing a test or some sort of styles assessment or personality assessment, it's very hard to be able to do that. So I think it kind of works both ways.
Thank you very, very much. Susie, what about you?
Yeah, as a global company, we're kind of used to interviewing and connecting, remotely. And I think the pivot to kind of communicating virtually, we're all adapting to it quite well. I don't think there's anything really different. One of my focus areas actually is, once that person is in that role, actually the onboarding, and onboarding, new people into our, I think the recruitment side is actually okay. I think we're going to get over it, but we really have to put a lot of effort into our onboarding, where new people are coming in and we're making sure that we're having the virtual coffees, the virtual events, and really, when somebody steps into a new role, that they sit, and have a coffee and they start to see people face to face, and we just don't have that at the moment. So we're really trying to get creative on getting our new graduates onboarded, having virtual happy hours, and really coming up with more creative ideas to get that connection. So once that person is initially in the door, then that connection, which is really important, and we're still working on that, but it's high priority to try and get right.
Yeah, that's a big issue, isn't it? I mean, if you were just finding out that you've been recruited to a new organisation and you were young and, a bit like going to university now, but you couldn't do Freshers Week, you couldn't make new friends, you couldn't join clubs, that could be a lonely world. But I know I'll ask you, first of all, Andrew, a little bit about maybe how you're looking after new recruits in the organisation. But going back to that question, how are you recruiting? What are you looking for when you interview at the minute?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's back to the soft skills question. So, you can tell usually from what somebody's done at school and their grades and that, what their kind of base cognitive abilities are like. But it is testing, what's their resilience, what's their experience in working in teams, and we will quite often have sort of interactive activities within EY on a particular day where potential recruits are interacting with each other and see how that goes. I've got to say there's also a lot of other things like EY experience days, and we do a lot of work placement type thing, and my personal preference is to see somebody over a 6-week period, or we have industrial placements where they come out of university for a gap year and you really get to know somebody during that time. And we've had a lot of success with people who do that 6 weeks then being offered a role to come back and join as grads. You're on mute there, Sarah. Delighted to say.
Yes, you see, Andrew, I wanted to take the bad look off you. But yeah, looking after new people coming in. It used to be when I was in the newsroom at the start, it was absolutely shadowing. I'd done 3 years at university. I'd learned all the skills, but nothing was quite like the pressure of a deadline coming up to a bulletin with a news editor breathing down your neck and you were typing away furiously at your story. It was really about learning from everybody around you. That's a challenge. Andrew.
Yeah, it certainly is. And, I think, when we bring people in, so they're assigned a buddy, and I think, the key is it is like going back to start and doing baby steps. And, there are going to be moments of pressure, but I think it's about bringing people in the right sort of way and giving them the time to grow and get used to it, because it's a very different environment than school environment.
Great. Right. We have about a minute and a half left. Very, very briefly, thank you so much to everybody for tuning in. Thank you for your questions. But I'm going to finish with this final question. Just a couple of words from each of our panelists. The final question is from Claire, who's watching in tonight. Having now experienced the world of work, what one piece of advice would you give your 14-year-old self about preparing for the world of work? One piece of advice. Lynn.
Be open to experiences.
Fantastic. Susie.
think don't sweat it. You know, hard work and being opportunistic will get you a long way.
And Andrew?
Yeah, I think doing something that scares you once a year at least, and that'll, you know, build your confidence and build your resilience.
Once a year? Let's do a little bit more than that, I think. Listen, folks, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you. Can I just thanks to Susie, to Andrew, and to Lynn, to all of you who've tuned in on this beautiful sunny evening. I hope you found it useful. I hope that the young ones that were maybe watching with you found it useful. You can always contact the companies if you'd like any further information. But before we leave you tonight, we are hoping, as I said, to run a series of these events. But we'd love to engineer the content around what you feel you would like. So the last thing I'm going to ask you to do is, can you send us in the chat some topics that you'd like us to cover in the next session, and we'll pick up on those. And hopefully, if you keep an eye on your social media channels or wherever you find details of this event, then the next one could be what you have asked for. So if you don't ask, you don't get. But thank you so much for everyone for being here today. I found it extremely useful. Take care, and good luck if anybody's getting A-level results or AS level results or GCSEs. We are all rooting for you. Take care, everybody, and good night.